Can you tell me about some of your experiences with hotlining and how that's gone for you and how you've handled it?
Um, so just a little background. I used to work as a child protective services caseworker. And so that was part of my job. I actually had to respond to hotlines. And I learned a lot is that I learned a lot from that job. Part of what I learned is to not hotline uh, without really thinking it through and making sure that you are hotlining for a good reason. Because the system is such that it can be very, very hard on families, even when it's trying to help. But absolutely hotline when you feel like the child is in immediate danger, you feel like the parent is unable to care for the child well, whether that's due to neglect. Perhaps it's 1 degree outside and the parent doesn't have any heat. And unfortunately, they're not able to get to a safe place. That would be a reason to hotline. If the child is being abused, or if the parent is so depressed that they are unable to care for themselves or their child. So as an occupational therapist, we are mandatory reporters, so we do not have a choice. If we suspect that a hotlineable offense has come up, we have to do it or we run the risk of losing our license. So I would take any situation that you have a question about to a supervisor and make sure that they are aware of the situation, talk it out, and then document everything that you do. So document when you call, the date that you called, document any response that you get back. You have to decide whether or not to inform the family that you've hotlined based on the situation. If you feel like you would be in personal danger, if you told them, you're not obligated, but ethically, it's responsible to have a conversation with the family and explain why you hotlined, explain what your concerns are.
Have you told families before hotlining?
I have told families that things need to change or I will have to hotline. So basically I've tried to be preemptive. I'm noticing that that you're really upset, that things have not been going well. I noticed the house has been really untidy the last few times I've come. This doesn't seem to be normal for you. I'm sorry, I have a baby over here crying. Doesn't seem to be normal for you. Why don't you seek out counseling? And then you come out the next time. And if nothing has changed over the course of a couple of times of coming out, then I may say, if we're not able to address this, I am going to have to hotline. And then you always follow through. An important part of that, though, is also offering resources. I'm always very careful not to go into a family's home just looking for everything that's wrong, but really trying to see what strengths there are within the family and trying to avoid a hotline if we can. And that can be either through therapeutic use of self by me talking to the parents. It can be through providing resources. Sometimes it's just having a really honest conversation and saying, hey, it's not okay to leave the oven open. This is why. This can hurt him. And having the parent say, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't even think about it. And then never seeing it again, never seeing it happen. So I've told them before by giving kind of a warning, and then I've told them after, and sometimes I've had to make the choice not to tell, and that was more as my work, my previous professional work, but where I felt like it wasn't appropriate for me to return to the home to tell them. It was more appropriate to let another person handle it at that point. And that can happen sometimes where nothing else productive can happen with your interaction with the family. And you just have to make that call.
Thanks for the advice.
Yeah.